Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
And it's Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. It's November 10th in the year 2022. This is Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining us. And Bob Lauder is here, Attorney Bob Lauder. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Emily Haining-Sheehan from The Call is here. And
Good
The Times.
morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Your haircut looks very nice.
Thank you very much. I said, make me look like Bob Lauder, and they screwed it up like crazy. So now I got to start over.
I love it.
Yeah, but you don't want all the white hair, man.
White is in.
You should see all the white that falls to the floor. Like, hey, wait a minute.
White hair is in.
Is it? Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that.
White hair is in.
We're going to be joined at 8:30 by Mayor Dan Gendron, who will be joining us to talk about things going on in the city. So we look forward to that. Time for first a message from the Call newspaper. And then I got a good question for Bob.
Okay. Well, it is that time of year. Thanksgiving is coming. The holiday season is coming. And we are back with our yearly holiday food basket program. It is it's a great joy of mine to run this program this year for the city of Woonsocket and the city of Pawtucket, and it's a great program. The sponsorship is $250. And it would feed a family of 4 to 5 people. I have teamed up again this year with Little General and also Care Alliance for the Woonsocket area, and then the Pawtucket Food Bank in Pawtucket. And it goes to many people in both of the cities that may not be able to afford their Thanksgiving dinner or their holiday season dinners. And you actually do receive 4 ads, 2 in the Thanksgiving time frame and 2 in the December time frame. It's a great cause. If you have any questions or would like to participate, please give me a call at 401-767-8500.
All right, Em. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
So here comes your question, Bob.
I'm sliding under the desk.
No, you're gonna know this one because I don't know the answer.
Peering over the top.
Just hearing the newscast every now and again, and something. Some guy has done something. So what is the difference between assault and aggravated assault?
Well, assault is usually a condiment that's on a dinner table.
Not a pepper.
I do not know. I would
really?
Imagine
okay.
I would imagine it.
Because you do hear that they were charged with this, and then they say I charged with this.
I will have to look it up for you because I honestly don't.
I know it's been a long time since criminal law. So
true.
So the only thing I could think of was if assault is, let's say I punch you in the face.
Right.
But let's say I have a gun in my hand and I hit you with the gun. Is that aggravated assault?
I'm going to have to look it up and have an answer for you next
Well,
week.
that's assault with a deadly weapon.
That's
okay.
True.
So,
but between now and then, you know, temper down your conduct because you don't want to have the wrong assault.
No, you don't want to have the wrong one. So.
Okay.
And aggravated sounds worse than just plain assault. So,
Let me find out for you.
Okay. Gee, I thought that was going to be an easy one.
I know, right?
Sorry, Bob. All right, we did have a note.
You don't ask me with the clock that I inherited from Diana. I'm saying this on purpose. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, from your friend. I know that one.
Okay.
I don't have any questions about that.
Okay.
So if I want to get divorced, how do I really stick it to my wife?
If you want to get divorced and you want to stick it to your wife, you are probably going into this with the wrong attitude.
Really? I thought that'd be the best attitude.
If you antagonize the other side, you expect antagonism back.
Okay. Well, okay. That makes sense. All right. So don't go with that take.
Go with a clear mind.
Have you ever had a case where a divorce is coming up and there's animals involved?
Yes.
And people want to. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. And I want it. No, I want it. And so, you can't split up the dog or the cat. So what do you do?
We actually had one a number of years ago where it ended up being, it was almost like child custody, except
Yeah.
the court doesn't look at it the same way. In child custody, look at the best interest of the child. In this, they weren't looking at the best interest of the animal.
Interest of the dog.
No, but it ended up in a bizarre situation where the animal was with one of the parties. I've forgotten now if it was 2 weeks at a time or a month at a time, and then moved to the other party.
Shared
And
custody.
Shared custody of the animal.
It's like shared custody of the kids.
It was unusual.
Was it? Okay. Because they both.
They both had affection for the dog and didn't want to give it up entirely out of their lives, but
Did they?
they didn't have children, by the way.
Okay. Did they get the? Was it a dog?
It was a dog.
Okay. Did
yeah.
they get the dog together when they were a married couple, or did one bring the dog into the marriage?
That's
I think
a good question.
I think they acquired the dog
Together.
during the marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, then it's tough. How do you split up the dog? Okay. All right. Just wondering. We do.
If you're planning any of this kind of stuff,
No, I don't have a dog.
oh, okay.
All right. We have a note that was called in 766-1240. We want to get to this. The caller just says the world is changing big time and too fast, forgetting the human race and focusing on a computerizing, controlling society. The kids, and I do mean kids, are hypnotized, satisfied, and don't know any better. Respect takes a back seat. So I wish
Well-
there was an example here.
I think that in any generation, there are people who look to how the conduct was in the early days of their youth and compare it to the conduct now and see that there's something less controlling than they had been when they were growing up. I think that's probably true of any generation.
I think so
And
too.
As for the children being self-occupied, I'm old enough to remember when television was first coming along and there was criticism that you were spending far too much time watching television. And,
It's going to melt your brain.
well,
Not
if
quite
you're in
melts,
one
but-
particular political party, I agree with that. But I won't go further
Oh,
on,
okay,
on
fine.
which one. But yeah, I think it's a common feeling of people when they get older that there may be a change of standards and a change of morality, but that's been happening for centuries. And it's not going to necessarily stop right now.
Do you agree with that, Em?
Well, I was the generation that first, started doing the good old video games.
Okay, yeah.
So, just like Bob would, say about the,
Too much time.
So what I grew up with is that I only had an allotted amount of time. And then it was taken,
Stop. Yeah.
stop. And, I have 4 stepchildren. They range from 16 at the end of this month to almost 19. And when they're at our house, put the phones away. It's family time. We play games or go outside and play. I think it has to do kind of with the environment and how you're raised too. I was raised a certain way. My husband was raised a certain way, and we, kind of thought that, okay, yes, you have plenty of time to be on your phone, but we're gonna do this instead. At the dinner table, if I see somebody on the phone, I take their phone because that's what it would be. In my growing up, because cell phones came out first with my generation
Right,
as
yeah.
well. Computers. I didn't start using. I used a word processor in high school, and didn't really get like an actual real live computer until I started college, and it was one of those big box. It wasn't even a laptop type of thing. So I mean, things always change. With my generation too. MTV. It was, and it was watching, and look at how that's changed. So I think it's always evolving in technology. Every day something new comes out. I think it's how you kind of teach your children and, society itself, and just have conversations.
What we do for dinner time, and it seems to be working out pretty well, that's the perfect time, because you're going to be eating, to take your phone to your room and charge it up.
That is,
Don't charge it at the dinner table.
No.
You have to bring it to another room so you're away from it and charge it up there. And then when dinner's done, your phone's at 100%. Well, roughly.
Yeah.
So you're good to go for the
Yeah.
rest of the evening.
So I mean, it's
works for us, so.
it's kind of case by case basis.
Yeah. But you're right, Bob, and talks about this generation to the next generation. I can remember. You must remember Tim McNamara that worked here for so many years,
Yes.
right? Okay, Tim, a great guy, and Tim grew up in the '40s and the '50s. Loved big band music, loved the early rock and roll stuff.
Yeah.
And but he told me this story of his father hated the music he was listening to. All the I'm trying to think of the Glenn Miller
Right.
Orchestra,
Tommy Dorsey.
Dorsey, all the ones that we now think of as
Classics.
Of classics. His father thought it was awful.
Yeah.
Because his father listened to classical music, and this pop music that you're listening to in 1945 was terrible.
Well, it was the same.
But it's like that with every generation.
Yeah, it was the same thing when the Beatles.
Yes, they were awful.
When the Beatles came out,
Loud, long hair.
radicals.
Yes.
And my grandfather did not allow my dad to buy
Beatles albums.
a bit. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my mother refused to buy me the first Nirvana CD because of the CD cover.
There was a naked baby on the cover.
Yeah.
The child was
so,
about
it was
8 months old.
Yeah, it was that generational,
Yeah.
Of, oh God, what is this music?
Yes. Yes, Bob.
it's gonna,
It's going to warp your mind.
yeah.
Yes,
Is
Bob.
that the cover that was the subject of the litigation for the last several years?
Yes.
By the child model.
Yes.
Wow.
He
okay.
tried to sue
He tried
years
to-
later when he
Yeah.
was an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
That he was exploited. That was either thrown out or just he lost.
Yeah, he lost.
It was a nice try.
I remember my parents saying that I couldn't buy any of those Victor wax cylinders that they used to use on the Victrolas before they made the show.
And
You're not
why-
that old.
And why, Bob? The wax get all over the house?
Too exciting.
Yeah, too exciting. that's
I hear
too
you
bad.
and Emily talking about the stuff. Emily talking about computers in college. I remember walking back and forth to class with a slate and chalk in my hand.
Oh, you're not that bad.
Ba-dum-bum.
Typewriters, though, right, Bob?
Yes, typewriters.
All right. Now, voters in Rhode Island, in all but 6 communities, said okay to retail marijuana sales.
Okay.
The 6 communities that said no, and this really doesn't surprise me for some reason: Barrington, East Greenwich, Jamestown, Little Compton, Scituate, and Smithfield. Kind of your more outlying towns, your higher end towns in terms of income and things like that.
Which is kind of ironic with the northern part of the state because they're dense areas. It's a lot of wooded areas. There's not a lot of things to do, so to speak. And historically, there's worse things going on drug-wise than marijuana. So that's actually a little bit surprising to me. The others, yes, the more affluent, that's not saying that there isn't affluent areas in the northern part of the state, but it's not as rural,
Okay.
down South County.
Does it surprise you, Bob?
That some towns denied the referendums? No. Although I think it was a hard call for a lot of people. There's the argument that, yes, first of all, the towns are going to get a 3% cut of the proceeds as a tax to the town, and that was great. And there's the argument, well, marijuana is legal consumption in the state, and therefore, you have liquor stores in towns, and why not have marijuana stores as well? I think the alternate part is the people who think, well, it's still federally illegal to use marijuana. I understand that in the new Congress, they tend to discuss whether or not they should revoke that prohibition federally. But right now, if you're smoking marijuana in the state, even though it's legal in the state law, it's against federal law, and you could be prosecuted for it. And then there may be people who think that it somehow brings a darker element of population into their town to try and purchase the product. I don't think it does bring a darker element of population into a town. I think that people who are using it are using it in accordance with the state law, and that's perfectly okay.
And it is still regulated, you know, to a point. You know, you can only, you know, have so much on you, and there's so many different, you know, there's, you know, straight marijuana, then there's, you know, the CBD and the THC, you know, so it's very interesting, especially when Massachusetts, which is, you know, right next door, is, you know, legal for retailers. So if you are, you know, either recreational or if it's for medical, if it's not going to be in Rhode Island, they're going to go somewhere else.
Well, that's why,
and the money is going to go somewhere else.
That's why I'm looking at it this way. You know, if you live in Barrington, all right, you can drive to Bristol, but just buy it there. And East Greenwich can go to West Greenwich. Jamestown can go to Newport. Little Compton can go to Tiverton. Situate can go to Foster. Smithfield can go to North Smithfield. I mean, it's just stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive that far to get it. You don't even have to go out of state.
Yeah, exactly.
So those communities are losing out. Not that Barrington and East Greenwich are going to be saying, "Gee, we're losing out on a lot of money," but what are we going to do? But I'm surprised that some communities voted no, while most voted okay.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
What are they doing in Mansfield? Do they have marijuana available in Mansfield?
No. They wanted to put one in. I remember this, and you know, they set up their regulations where it was going to be, and one was going to be right down the street from a daycare. And I actually got a hold of one of my selectmen and said, "Is that, you know, it's so close?"
Right.
And he wrote back and he said, "Yeah, the rule was it had to be at least 100 yards away from daycares and churches and things like this. Where they wanted to put it, 110 yards. They just right over. But something happened. It didn't go through. No one has built one yet in Mansfield. There is one in Norton though that's doing bang up business. That's right over the line.
And in Attleboro, that
there's one in Attleboro that just
there's a few.
And when I was in another life, it was just the cars were streaming in.
Oh yeah.
Where in the other business around there actually have to put up signs that say you can't park here, and we're not part of them. You have to go down the road a little bit. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They were streaming over from Rhode Island. Although maybe that when the marijuana shops open up in Rhode Island, that'll slow down there in Attleboro. All right, we got to take a break here on the Coffee and program. We're going a little late, and so time for a second message from the Call newspaper.
Yes, and you know, right now, Thanksgiving. What do we know about Thanksgiving?
Turkeys.
Football.
Football. I should have got that, Bob.
Yeah, football. You should have gotten that. Come on.
I might not have it. I can't believe Joe didn't get
I know.
that.
I feel bad.
So,
Whoa.
It is, you know, a Rhode Island pastime for high school football games and, you know, huge rivals, you know, between, you know, towns and cities. And we are having a Thanksgiving football promotion going on for the high schools. It's a great promotion. Our sports writers are actually doing a football preview of the biggest rivals, you know, in the state really, but obviously up here we have, you know, huge rivals. And you can get involved and do an ad. It will be actually the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and it's a great promotion. There's different levels of ads that you can do to support your local team, or if you have, you know, if you went to high school but live here and went to high school somewhere else, you know, in the state. It's totally, you know, up to you if you want to, you know, support, you know, Woonsocket High School or, you know, Mount or, you know, Cumberland or, you know, Mine didn't have a football team because it was all girls, but that's okay. But if you are interested in participating and supporting your local high school football teams, please give me a call at 401-767-8500.
All right, more Coffee Ends coming up. Call in comments and questions at 766-1240.
What does it mean to be owned by your customers? It means we don't answer to a headquarters in New York or a board of directors in Switzerland. It means we answer to a teacher in Woonsocket, a small business owner in Greenville, a contractor in Warwick. Our customers are our owners. Our owners are our customers. Come join us. Navigate Credit Union.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with RE/MAX Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial. And he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
It's Coffee In here on ONAM and FM. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder and Emily Haney Sheehan. And Em, how about that phone number for Scott McGee, please?
All right, it is 401-639-2906.
Oh, one more time.
401-639-2906.
All right, I have a question for Em here, and
Okay.
because you deal with the Times down in Pawtucket.
Yes.
And so on Tuesday, the referendum in Pawtucket passed to knock McCoy Stadium down and build a combined high school of Tolman and Shea. Now, I heard originally they wanted to combine Tolman, Shea, and the Jacqueline Walsh School of the Arts to make it the three of them.
Yeah.
Is the art school out, or is it just Tolman and Shea?
You know what? I cannot confirm or deny. I don't
right.
know.
Because all the news reports just say the two.
Yeah,
of them.
the two of them. Well, to tell you the truth, those two school buildings themselves are very old.
Well, they're ancient.
They're very old.
They
I
go
mean,
back to Bob Lauder days.
yeah. I mean, well,
Nice to have
that's
thatched roofs.
no. But I mean, I've been in both, know, because of certain things,
Right.
and it's just, unfortunately, it's just a little deplorable.
Yeah.
At this, and it's just, safety issues. And it makes sense because they're really not that far away from each other in the first place, Tolman and Shea. So it just makes sense to, kind of have a centralized, location. My parents, went to Pawtucket West before it became Shea.
My mother went to Pawtucket East.
Yeah. So,
Before they called it Tolman.
and my parents said that it was bad back then, and they graduated in 1973.
Yeah.
So it's, yes, my parents are young.
My
Bob's shaking his head right now, being like, "What?"
my mother turns 89, so she graduated from Tolman High when it was the exact same building. That's how
Yeah.
old this building is.
That's yeah.
So she goes back to the 40s.
in Shea / Pawtucket
Yeah.
West, it's the same scenario.
So yeah, they they deserve a new high school there in Pawtucket. But I've talked to people from Pawtucket and people that have graduated from Pawtucket, and they're bringing up they don't think it's a good. Some don't think this is a good idea, although it passed overwhelmingly, because they're just worried about putting all the kids from Tolman and all the kids from Shea who don't really like each other, and now we're putting them together in an enclosed building and say, okay, get along.
Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, and this happens in many states. There's gang activity.
Yeah.
And there are some people from Shea and some people from Tolman that they're opposing. And it's going to be interesting. I will say though, the superintendent and the school the school staff and the principals are wonderful, and they're trying to make things better. They're trying to get the community more involved in education, and kind of getting the levels of testing better than they've had been in the past. And I hope you always try to hope for the best. Sure. And maybe I was actually, believe it or not, yesterday I was over. I actually passed the back of McCoy Stadium yesterday. I was in the Pawtucket area yesterday. And, it's sad to see it go.
Oh, it's terribly sad.
Because there's just so many, personally myself growing up in Fairlawn, Pawtucket, there's so many great memories of going to see, the Paw Sox and even, anybody that was on the DL. For the Red Sox, I remember seeing Mo Vaughn and Roger Clemens and, all the great Red Sox, past players. But it's just standing there at this point,
and it looks run down.
And it does. It's overgrown.
They still
it looks
have
run
the
down.
advertisements on the outfield fence. They started to rip just because of the weather. So it looks abandoned. It's a real eyesore now.
Yeah. So you know what? Something needs to be done there.
Oh, shit, absolutely.
And it's. I think it's a great thing that they are going to build. A new high tech.
Oh, it's going to look beautiful.
It's going to look beautiful. A high tech school.
But it's going to be. I'm going to try my absolute best, but it'll be a sad day.
It will.
When the first wrecking ball
I know.
smashes into McCoy to knock it down.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I'm like, oh,
I know.
What could have been?
Yeah.
Did the referendum include the cost of building the new school?
$330 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, 80% of that is paid for with grants or something from the feds. So
okay, that's good.
Do the math, and
Right.
so it really doesn't. It's not really costing the city a lot of money. So that's kind of a no-brainer to do it like that.
I would imagine on the consolidation part, though, when the original schools were constructed back in the teens or 20s of the last century, they were probably done that way because of transportation. Kids walked to schools back in those days, and so they built them close to the community where the child would live.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with the busing, it can be consolidated.
Yeah, and it's funny too because both of my parents grew up in Fairlawn, and they had to walk.
Yeah.
To Pawtucket West.
Yeah.
And it was a long walk. It was a long walk because my mom grew up on Middle Spring Avenue, right near the North Providence border. And had to walk all the way to East Ave.
Yeah, that's a long
that
walk.
was, and then my dad grew up off of Smithfield Avenue, which was basically the same amount of distance. So, with busing, yes, it does make it easier. It does make it easier for the consolidation as well.
My mom grew up in the Darlington section.
Oh, the other
Pawtucket.
side of the tracks.
Ooh. And her house used to be right where the CVS is on Newport Avenue.
Oh, I was over there yesterday.
So that's where her house was, or her parents' house was. And so she always grabbed, it wasn't called RIPTD back then, but public transportation, so she could grab a bus to get to Tolman. But if you missed the bus, you walked.
You walked. And
Down the hill.
and that was a long walk as well.
It was a long walk, so that's what's going on there in Pawtucket.
Back in the old days, kids in Woonsocket walked to the schools. There was
That's
no
right.
transportation whatsoever.
At all.
No.
When did that come into play? 70s when
Must have been in the
school
70s.
transportation became the thing.
Right.
We have to have this for the children.
I remember the guy I used to work share offices with, Bill Savastano. He was one of the people who was the lawyer who brought the litigation to the Supreme Court of the state, which requires now that schools provide transportation for parochial schools as well as public schools. And that was in the probably late 70s, early 80s when he did that. So.
Okay. Break time once again here on the Coffee and program. Time for the weather forecast, which is being sponsored by the Ad Council.
Sunny skies today with a high of 67 degrees and a breeze from the southwest up to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, patchy fog after 4 a.m., otherwise partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 47. Veterans Day Friday, there's a chance of rain mainly after 2 p.m. as a storm from the west combines with the remnants of Nicole from the south. And late in the day, we have a 40% chance of rain, mostly cloudy skies all day and a high near 70 degrees. Friday night, however, 1 to 2 inches of rain. Overnight Friday night, 90% chance. Rain, possibly thunderstorms. Some storms could produce gusty winds. A low of 61 degrees overnight and southwest winds gusting to 35 miles per hour. Saturday, rain and thunderstorms continue to be likely before noontime. Some storms could produce some gusty winds. Partly sunny skies afternoon with a high of 71 degrees. There's a 60% chance of rain on Saturday. Sunday, a chance of rain between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., partly sunny skies and a high of 52. Monday, sunshine and 45. Tuesday, partly sunny with a high of 46. Wednesday, rain, 49.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, sunny skies and 51 degrees. Okay, dads, it's time to do the Cabbage Patch, the Running Man, or something more contemporary, the Floss. That's right, dance like a dad with your kids. Learn more at fatherhood.gov, sponsored by the Ad Council.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love. You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Here's what's coming up next. Greatest Hits USA.
Hey, this is Chuck Matthews on Greatest Hits USA. And coming up this weekend, we're going to answer the following questions. Who died right after a concert? What singer owned over 450 guitars? And who had the #1 record this week in 1969? Find out. Turn it up this weekend right here.
Greatest Hits USA.
And it's Coffee Ann here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here, along with attorney Bob Lauder, Emily Hayning-Sheen from The Call, and we're being joined by Mayor Dan Gendron from Woonsocket. Hello there, Mayor.
Hello, Joe. Good morning, and thank you for the invitation to be here.
Nice to have you here. We're going to talk about with Dan in just a second here, but time for first message, Bob, from your law office.
Thank you. Good morning. This is attorney Bob Lauder. I'd like to talk to you this morning about some of the elements of distribution of marital assets in the event of a divorce. Marital assets are usually considered to be those assets owned or acquired by the parties during the course of the marriage. but exclude those assets which were brought to the marriage by one of the parties or were inherited by one of the parties at any time during the marriage, provided, however, that the party with the assets or the inheritance has not granted to the spouse dominion over the assets, such as placing the assets in a joint account with the other spouse. When one of the marital assets includes real estate, there will frequently be negotiations between the parties as to who is entitled to receive the asset. It may be a situation where one of the parties purchases the interest of the other in the real estate, or where the real estate is sold and the net proceeds of the sale are divided between the parties. It may be a situation where the parent who has physical placement of the minor child remains in the residence and credit is given to the other party in the form of partial abatement of child support obligations or as a credit at the time that the residence is sold after the children have reached the age of majority. There may be more imaginative solutions. For example, a multi-apartment structure in a highly desirable location may be the subject of condominiumization, with the various resulting condominium units owned outright by the separating parties. Divorce is an emotional experience and filled with anxiety, but the eventual distribution of marital assets should be approached with a calm and reasoned analysis. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you. And Dan Gendron is with us. And just taking a look at the front page of the call, Dan, you're on the front page of the call.
I haven't seen today's call.
Not your picture, but you're, one of the headlines. And it just says, Gendron, and this is attributed to you, voters didn't understand the decision to remove Baldelli Hunt. Would you say you would... hold on for just a second.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Oreos.
Happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy birthday to you.
Hooray.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know, she was the only one singing.
Yes. and thank you all for that.
Yes.
So following the COVID, protocol that we have to follow.
Ooh, what a man. With the fingers. Ooh. That's the way my dad used to do it.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. You didn't want to blow on it.
No. Well,
anyway.
thank you. Thank you for...
We realized it was your birthday this morning, and you had already agreed to be on the show, so we wanted to quickly put something together and make sure there was enough cake for you to take back to the office and share.
Well, that is wonderful. I thank you, everybody.
We have plates, napkins, forks. But you don't have to eat right now, or you don't. But if you want to, you can cut it up and have some fun. We have
Breakfast.
Well, what I will do is while I'm talking, I'll ask you to cut pieces for anyone who wants it, if you don't mind.
Nope, not at all.
The guy you can delegate, right?
And I'll do it old school. Would you like a big piece or a sliver?
All right. Getting back to what we were about to talk about before the cake arrived. On the front page of today's call, Dan Gendron was saying voters didn't understand the decision to remove Baldelli Hunt. I'm assuming you're going to agree with that. And that's why things turned out the way they turned out on election night, correct?
Yeah, and I think I don't know if that was my exact quote, but my point was I think that I was asked what I thought was one of the contributing factors, and I feel that it was a reaction to the removal process. But if I can, and I'm Bob, it's a perfect time for you to be here. And if you don't mind, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I simply want to reference you. You are an attorney.
Yes.
And a real good attorney that has represented me in other things, and I think that you, by everyone's opinion, you have the great ability as an attorney. You are well practiced and have a great reputation. With that being said, I will ask you one question. Every time you represent somebody, do you always fully agree with the law that you have to follow?
Not necessarily, no. there are times which you would say, okay, the law says this, but in representing my client, this is how the law should be interpreted for the best interest of my client. And that's the reason why cases go on appeal and go to the Supreme Court and laws get overturned because someone has challenged whether or not it actually should be the standard used in that particular case. Yeah.
And so to that, and that is exactly my point, that you would certainly do what's in the best interest of your client within the legal parameters that laws, be it local, state, or federal, restrict you. You would never advise a client to break the law.
No.
So my point is this, is that sitting as the city council in the situation we were in, we had brought to us a complaint by one of our constituents that said, by one of our colleagues that said they believe that the mayor violated our Woonsocket Charter, which is the Woonsocket law. And we had to take that complaint and follow the Woonsocket Charter as it dictated we were to follow. So in our Woonsocket Charter, it said, if somebody brings a complaint, you shall, it doesn't say you may, it says you shall hold a hearing within 10 days, and you shall conclude that hearing in no more than 30 days. So what happened is somebody said the mayor violated the charter. At that point, we had to then weigh, do we then break the charter and say we're not going to hear the hearing, which would have been a violation of us breaking the charter. But we didn't have that. We don't have the ability to say we're going to pick and choose what parts of the charter we're going to follow. So when I say that people didn't understand, I think they held it as a personal attack that we were carrying out against the mayor. I would have handled that complaint the same way with anyone. And if somebody had brought charges against another member of the city council or against an individual that would have fallen under the guidelines of the charter, I would have felt that we as a city council had the exact same obligation to follow through with our oath that we took to uphold our city charter. And I think that's where it gets gray and it gets distorted because there's a lot of recognition and people who feel that we shouldn't have done the hearing. But I took an oath, as the mayor took an oath, to follow the charter. And when you don't follow it, there has to be results or actions taken against that. And I think that's where we fell into. I truly wish we never got to that point. I would have been much happier to walk away from it and not go through this process. I think I and everyone that did this knew that it was not politically a good move, and it certainly showed out as the result of the election. It was certainly not a move that we said, hey, you know what? This is politically going to help us. So wink, wink, let's follow through. It certainly didn't help me personally because I've had a lot of people who have talked to me and said they didn't agree with it. But as I said, I took an oath, and it wasn't to do what's popular. It wasn't to do what's politically beneficial to me. It was to uphold the charter. And I think that's what the city council did. It had bad effects in the polls and at the polls, but I live with it, and I wouldn't do anything different.
Okay.
I think there were two things that influenced.
And Bob,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're
I was
fine.
just,
You're fine.
I didn't want to.
Thanks. I think that the position that you just talked about wasn't very well enunciated either at the time of the hearings or after the hearings. I think that if you had been able to put that position out, it would have been a lot more understandable to people, and I didn't seem to hear that ahead of time. I also think it was unfortunate that the council candidates, the ones who were not being endorsed by Mayor Baldelli Hunt, didn't seem to have a whole lot of advertising. I saw lots of signs on front lawns, but Mayor Baldelli Hunt had large advertisements in the Woonsocket Call endorsing various candidates, and the rest of the council didn't seem to have that kind of momentum behind them. I think that may have been a factor as well.
Oh, it absolutely was. But know that we were all self-funded. We were on a much more limited budget, and we were not anticipating, and I think it quite honestly, it got away from us in that when the hearing was brought to us, it wasn't finalized until October 6th or 7th. At that point, we realized what was going to happen. And I just think that we weren't able to get the resources needed to go after the type of attack that was put on us. And there was a lot more money with the Baldelli camp. And if you look at the campaign finance reports, you'll see there was a lot more money spent that we just couldn't overcome. And it wasn't a case of saying, well, where can we best put our money?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any money. And, I didn't know what was going to come. And as it wound up toward the last few days, it was too late.
Okay. We have to take our final break here on the Coffee and program. So, Bob, it's time for a second message from your law office, and then we'll talk more with Mayor Dan Gendron.
Thank you. Good morning. A few minutes ago, I discussed with you the equitable distribution of marital assets in the event of a divorce, and I spoke about real estate owned by the parties. Excuse me. Among the marital assets may be also a party's entitlement to pension funds. Frequently, one or both of the parties to a marriage have acquired a pension plan, which is administered either by their employer or a fiduciary working for the employer. These pension plans have a value, and sometimes the actual payout of the pension plan will not take place until the employee has attained a particular retirement age, which may be years after the entry of a judgment of divorce. Parts of the negotiation between divorcing parties should be an analysis of the terms of the plan, the value of the plan, and the manner in which the payments can be made from the plan. It's not unusual for the party to agree to, once the payments have been vested, that is, when the employee has reached the retirement status, that funds will be paid by the administrator to both of the parties of the divorce. However, the employee covered by the plan will want to make sure that the amount which the divorced spouse receives from the plan does not include the value of the plan attributed to the period of time when the employee was not married to the divorced spouse. This calculation, which must be approved by the administrator of the pension plan, is memorialized in the form of a qualified domestic relations order, frequently called a quadro, and entered as a binding order of the court. The terms of quadros are not easy to calculate, and this should be undertaken only by an attorney with expertise in this area of practice. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And the Coffee and program will continue. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Seasonal allergies got you down? The Honey Shop has a solution. Breathe. It's the all-natural cold and allergy remedy made right here in Woonsocket. Or perhaps you have sleep problems, arthritis, or some other ailment that you're looking for a natural solution. The Honey Shop is also starting classes again. So if you're looking to learn something new, stop by 1300 Park Avenue in Woonsocket near Park Square, or give them a call at 401-766-1488. The Honey Shop. Fall is here, and now is the perfect time to visit Mystic Aquarium, with a variety of ways to save, including free admission for veterans, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs of Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. It's easier than ever to get up close with over 300 species of animal ambassadors, including sharks, seals, African penguins, and the largest outdoor beluga habitat in the country. Want to visit all year while enjoying exclusive member perks and events? Become a member and support Mystic Aquarium's effort to protect our ocean planet, including rescuing stranded animals right here on our Rhode Island shores. Visit mysticaquarium.org to learn more about how you can support, visit, and save Mystic Aquarium.
John Chan of Chan's Fine Oriental Dining in Woonsocket wants to thank you all for once again voting them Best Chinese Restaurant and Best Entertainment in the Woonsocket Call Reader's Choice Survey. Chan's is open every day at 3 p.m. for dine-in, takeout, entertainment, and, of course, you can enjoy their Horseshoe Bar Lounge and karaoke Friday nights from 8 to 11. Call Chan's today for takeout or reservations, 765-1900. Chan's is open at 267 Main Street in Woonsocket.
Holy Trinity Parish Bazaar is Saturday, November 12th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the former Monsignor Gallery School, 1371 Park Avenue, Woonsocket, which is handicap accessible. There will be gift certificate raffles, split the pot, theme basket, special raffles, also home baked goods and fudge, handmade items, crafts, gift items, books, jewelry, knitted items, and much more. Visit with Santa, give him your wish list, and take photos with the children. Kitchen will be open for lunch and will include the popular dynamites, meatball sandwiches, soup, hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, and more. For further information, contact me, Yvette Houle, at 766-5663.
And it is Coffee In here on ON Radio. This is Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder, Emily Haining-Sheehan from The Call. Mayor Dan Gendron is with us. And Bob, you had a question for Dan?
Yes. What's it like being mayor? What are the challenges and what are the rewards?
Well, the rewards certainly outweigh the challenges. And when I say the rewards, I'll be clear that they're personal rewards. When I've had a number of people in City Hall come in and just give me a little bit of support, a little bit of accolades for what I'm doing, but it's personally heartwarming to go into the building and have people say thank you for being here. And when people come in, I've completely opened up City Hall. I unlocked all the doors. We took down the expired COVID restrictions. We've opened up to make City Hall user friendly again. And I've had people come in and say, it's so nice that I can walk in and go up and see the city clerk without these unnecessary restrictions. And they're thankful for that. And it's little things like that City Hall is wide open. It's your City Hall. You're welcome to come in without being, if you go in to record a title, you can go right up by the door you used to go and go right up to the city clerk's office without, going through these ridiculous paths. So, but it's been good for me because people have been very supportive, and I don't mean that they weren't supportive of the other mayor. That's not what I'm saying. They're probably just as supportive to Mayor Baldelli Hunt. But I'm just saying, for me, it's heartwarming for me.
What's the biggest challenge you've had?
Well, there was a few, trying to get some of the big things done. I wanted to get the police contract, finalized and paid out. That happened. We wanted to make sure that we closed on the purchase of All Saints Parish. I got that done. We wanted to get the middle school sale completed. And that was really, I was pushing that, and we moved that along. The property is sold. There's been little challenges, and quite honestly, some of the little challenges are more cumbersome than the bigger challenges. And it's some personnel issues. One of the biggest challenges that we've got is hiring a tax assessor. And that's probably the hardest thing. And the way it was said to me is there is no assessor in the state of Rhode Island that wants to come work in Woonsocket. And that's really disappointing to me because I live in Woonsocket. I don't like that people have that attitude.
Yeah.
But
did they explain why?
Yeah, they did, and I won't.
Right. Okay.
So it is it's disappointing, but you can see it when we've advertised and we had somebody accept the job and then called back and said, I decided not to, and I reached out and found out why, and it's disappointing.
Okay.
Now, the purchase of the All Saints Church, I didn't realize that had been taken. That includes the old school, I would imagine, as well.
Yes,
correct?
the entire block.
The entire block? Okay. How much was the price on that?
They started at 185 for the whole property, and through quite a bit of negotiations, and I want to thank John D. Simone for facilitating that. We ended up getting it for 135. So we were able to take $500,000 off their asking price, which was extremely a great amount under the appraisal, and it was good for the parish to liquidate that property, and it was really good for the city. And what I hope that we can see someday is a single unified multi-purpose fire station located on that property. Like they do in big communities where the trucks drive in one way, drive out another way. If you think of that as a location for a centralized fire station, when the fire trucks leave, they can go in any direction. You can take a quick ride up, Diamond Hill Road. You can go down Rathbun. You can go down Social. It's a lot of central access with 4 different roads bordering that property.
Have they given any thought to what particular fire stations that are presently in existence might be discontinued if that construction takes place?
Yeah, so one of the thoughts, and this is just based on the facility, is they would leave the Mendon Road station open, which is one of the newer fire stations. Mendon Road would stay open. Station 1 on Providence Street, which is also of the same era as Mendon Road,
Right.
that would stay open, and then it would probably close Station 2 and Station 3, which is Cumberland Hill Road and North Main Street, the big main fire station on Cumberland Hill Road. And then you could consolidate with and give the fire department real offices for the officers. Give them an actual office. Have training rooms where they could have desks and computers and be actually able to train the firefighters better, and do all of that in a real centralized, and have those 2 outer ones be like the satellites, if you will, and that way they could have a quick response to the East Woonsocket side, a quick response to the Globe area, and all the other calls would come from that central location.
Great.
All right. Em, do you have a question? If not, I do.
Well, actually, it went back to what we were discussing before the break, actually.
My birthday?
Yeah. No, in regards to the Woonsocket call. So, just to kind of, clarify too, I know everybody has different budgets, but the Woonsocket call, is always available for any type of advertising, whether it's, one party or the next. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there because we're not we're for everyone and every type of budget, whether someone has a larger campaign budget than a smaller campaign budget, but we work with everyone, and that's one thing I just wanted to kind of clarify.
The Woonsocket call absolutely has, and I really I do admit that we missed an opportunity. I won't deny that, but I will tell you that, like in one of your reporters, Stella Lawrence, she is just a wonderful reporter.
She is.
I think the world of her, and she has always given me a fair shake, and so it was not by anything the Woonsocket call did. Yeah. And if that came across, that is not. It was our fundraising ability, and if you look at my finance campaign report right now, I'm $2,200 in debt to myself. Because I've always, self-funded. So I know that there was, listen, in hindsight, I would have started with a big fundraising campaign, as I have done in the past. Everything ramped up so quickly, I missed it.
All right, Dan. It leads to another question that Bob asked when he talked about what you like about the job of being mayor. You only had it for a couple of months. But is it now the bug in your ear? Would you run for mayor in 2 years?
So let me see. You'd probably be 748th to ask me that question.
Gee, I thought it was first. Darn.
Yeah, no. It's that is the question, and I will say, give me a little bit of time. I am still coming off, a loss in a brutal attack. And I'll be honest with you, I love politics. I love being a city councilor. I love being in government. I really enjoy all of that. Campaigning has always been a burden for me because I have a full-time job, and it takes work that I don't have a big group of people behind me. But this time, the impact that Lisa Baldelli Hunt's advertisements had on my family, personally, I will never get over. My family, specifically my mom, had to see and endure such hostile actions by Lisa Baldelli Hunt that it makes you question what you're going to do when you have to expose your family to that type of attack. And I don't hold any animus to the 7 people who won the council seats because they had a good race, and none of them went and attacked me or my family. But as some of you heard or saw at the last meeting, 2 of my sisters, unknown to me, showed up at the city council meeting to voice their disgust with the negative attacks on me personally. And that's why I started off this whole thing saying I did what the charter prescribed. I didn't do it for any personal or political reasons, but it turned personal during the campaign. And quite honestly, it's no wonder why people shy away from being into public service. I know a lot of people that might want to give their time for public service, but they're not going to want to put up with the brutal, hostile attacks of somebody who has the budget and I'll stop.
Okay. I wish we had more time, but the show has come to an end, so we gotta wrap things up. So, Attorney Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me. Hope to see you next week.
All right, Emily Haney-Sheen, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I hope everybody has a great. If you have the day off tomorrow, the Woonsocket Call will be closed tomorrow in remembrance of Veterans Day. But I will be here next week, same time, same place.
Very good. Mayor Dan Gendron, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for the birthday cake.
Right,
I
happy
appreciate
birthday.
the recognition of my birthday.
29, right?
Good, thank you. Yes, I'll stay with that.
I thought so. All right, this is Joe Callahan. Have a great day, everyone. Stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew coming up with Do You Remember at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
The Providence Journal newspaper reports a federal judge earlier this week approved a settlement for over